via the Remote Access Hub. Welcome, everyone. My name is Cynthia Waddell of the International Center for Disability Resources on the Internet, and I will be moderating this meeting. Unfortunately, our coordinator, Andrea Sack, is not able to moderate the meeting due to illness. Before we begin, I'd like everyone to have 3 documents before you. If you have not picked them up, they're up front here at the table. The agenda, a draft declaration, and a draft action plan. For future reference, and for those of you participating in the Remote Access Hub, you may download the documents at this time at http://itu.it/accessibility/VC. Before we move to the agenda, I would like to provide a brief background on the formation of the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability and introduce our panel. I would also like to thank the Internet Society for funding the captioning of both our workshop and today's meeting. Last year, prior to the second Internet Governance Forum in Rio de Janeiro, and may I ask you not to step in front of the... Okay, sorry, we have activity going on in this room. Last year, I'm going to hold on for a bit here. Shall I proceed? Okay, last year, a little background about the formation of the coalition. Prior to the second Internet Governance Forum in Rio de Janeiro, I received a number of inquiries and requests from around the world asking about the formation of a dynamic coalition on accessibility and disability. Subsequently, some members of our panel today, including myself, spoke on various aspects of accessibility and disability rights at the Rio Conference. The momentum generated by the Rio Conference led to the formation of the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. The International Telecommunication Union, together with other founding members, proposed to IGF the formation of this Dynamic Coalition. ITU took the lead and created a communication structure for our work. First, an email discussion list or reflector was launched. Second, a secretariat was funded by ITU for administration and support. And third, Andrea Sachs agreed to serve as coordinator for the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. We invited anyone who was interested to participate and moved forward to hold 5 conference calls to prepare for today's meeting. The panel members today represent member organizations of the coalition. There are also others who could not travel and attend, and so they are participating via the Remote Access Hub. And so I would like to introduce the members today. On my far left is Jorge Cano from the Internet Society of Argentina. Next is Shadi, and I'm looking for, I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing your name, of the W3C. Web Accessibility Initiative. Next, we have Peter Major of ITU, RBR, and next we have Arnold Van Wyk, I murdered his name, of the Internet Society. And in front of me in the first row, we have Fernando Portello of the Literacy Bridge. We have Gabriela Barrios, independent consultant on law and ICT. We have a active member, Hiroshi Kawamura of the DAISY Consortium. And we have Dipendra Mehrotra of the DAISY Consortium. And again, myself, Cynthia Waddell, the International Center for Disability Resources. I am also the vice chair of the Internet Society Disability and Special Needs Chapter. I'd like to emphasize that membership to the Dynamic Coalition is open to anyone. You are all welcome to join the email discussion list and participate as you are able. Again, for more information, please visit our website at http://itu.int/accessibility/DC. You are also welcome to contact the Secretariat at dcabsecretariat@itu.int. Now, today's purpose of our meeting, our goal, we have a lot of work to do that we're trying to accomplish. Our goal is to approve a declaration as a concrete action and outcome of today's forum. As participants of IGF through the Dynamic Coalition, this declaration is addressed to IGF as a whole and to all stakeholders, stating the core views and policies from the field of accessibility and disability rights, and calling for internet accessibility and full participation by persons with disabilities in all IGF deliberations. So today's agenda has 5 items. First, the approval of the agenda. Second, the action plan. Third, our declaration. Fourth, a panel discussion which will follow up on questions asked during the workshop heard on December 4th. And finally, we would like feedback from the IGF participants here today on the accessibility measures taken during this third IGF meeting. Rather than following the formal rules of parliamentary procedure, I would like to relax the rule and ask now, are there any additions or revisions to the agenda?
I think we should have number 3 as number 2. I think it should be both number 2 and number 3.
I have a specific reason for the order. Thank you. The chair's prerogative there. Thank you. Being that there's no changes, the agenda is approved. I'd like to move to the action plan now, the Dynamic Coalition Accessibility and Disability Action Plan for 2009. I would like to move through each action plan item and ask for any additions or revisions. And I would also like to request Stefano, our secretariat, to take notes, please. First item, to move forward and build upon the Hyderabad Declaration on IGF accessibility for persons with disabilities. This will be our next agenda item. The second item is to study how to raise the declaration awareness within the IGF community and the mechanism for wider adoption at the IGF level. A way forward to achieve this goal could be to foster its adoption by other IGF dynamic coalitions. Any comment on that action item? Moving on to an item that I'm going to add, that the Dynamic Coalition website be maintained and updated with respect to information and workshop on accessibility and disability in ICT. That's a new item that I am adding. I'll call that 3. Next item, study and implement liaison between DCAB and other IGF dynamic coalitions to provide the disability perspective relevant to the mission and focus of each dynamic coalition at IGF. One outcome is to open dialogue to mainstream the disability perspective in IGF. Any additions or revisions to that item? Next item, improve the report to IGF. This is a report that we submitted after the Rio meeting, entitled Accessibility and Disability in IGF Meetings. So we would improve that report and we would write guidelines to the IGF Secretariat on how to organize an IGF meeting, in particular taking into consideration the provisions of a number of accessibility issues and provisions such as sign language interpretation, real-time captioning, accessible announcements on the web, hard copy documents, and auditory announcements. Accessibility features for remote access hubs using online conferencing tools, where the online conferencing tool can be used with assistive technologies such as screen readers and screen magnifiers, and provides for streaming of captioning. A provision for space on the IGF registration form to include participants' requests for special needs when they register. And we have added etc. because there are many other accessibility issues that will have come to our attention. Any comment or revision? Dependent. Let me bring a microphone to you so that those inside the face can hear and I can read the caption. Thank you.
I would suggest that when you are mentioning hard copy, this is also mentioned braille, at least for the agenda items. Hard copy braille. The agenda items, at least the available in hard copy braille.
Thank you. The addition of braille items. I would also expect accessible electronic formats on the website, and I'd like to recommend Hiroshi.
Thank you, teacher. I would like to add clear speech because this is my experience, and the speech is not clear, hard copy speech is not clear. Here in Canada, it's actually very difficult to read by myself because it's very tiny font and the color background. So I should say clear speech.
Do you have a recommendation as to font size, like 12 font, 14?
Yeah, there is a guideline developed by the World Brand Union on clear speech. So I can refer that guideline.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm sure we'll generate some more when we get the feedback on this forum. The next item is to improve the promotion of the accessibility features at IGF so more persons with disabilities can join in the future, and especially in the planning phase. Any comments? Next item, study which measures have to be taken at the world, regional, and national level in order to take into consideration the expectations and needs of persons with disabilities for communication, networking in the Internet. Any comments? Seeing none, next item, help the IGF in building a website accessible to persons with disabilities. One of the things we noticed in the IGF website in Rio, it was not accessible. Persons with disabilities might be able to connect, but they may not be able to use the assistive technology to access the content. I see a hand raised in the back. We need a microphone to you. Can you come forward? Thank you. And you're welcome to use
Documents are
yourself.
available to you.
This is something I've noticed. The survey forms and feedback forms. I think it should be more accessible in the IGF website because I'm able to fill in the form, but when I was sitting with Fernando, I'm not able to fill in the form, so it's not. We should think about this.
The survey form, that's an excellent point. If the survey form are not accessible, then persons with disabilities that cannot have interest then to these forms. Which is the same problem with the IGF Rio website. It had an input form and it was not accessible. Thank you for that comment. Next item, disseminate information and involve more partners in the dynamic coalition of accessibility and disability work. Any comments? Next item, propose to the multi-stakeholder advisory group, the NAD, that a representative of the dynamic coalition on accessibility and disability serve as an observer at NAG meetings in order to mainstream the disability perspective and contribute information on accessibility matters. I'd like to comment that we were able to have a an open meeting of the NAG to present our report on the real situation on accessibility, and it was thought that it would be helpful to add this as a action item for serving as an observer at the NAG meeting. Any comment or addition or revision to that item? We're really running through this. And then the last action plan item for 2009, ensure that the needs of persons with disability are taken into account in the debate about internet governance. Yes, I have a comment from Charlie.
Yeah, I'm just wondering to ensure
We don't have proposal is that the needs of persons with disabilities should be account in the debate about internet governance. Thank you. I'm glad we got to this point. Having gone through the action plan and reviewed it, if there are no serious objections, I'll let me make a comment. Sean, yeah.
So I'm proposing to add another point about having the dynamic coalition serve maybe as a resource for the IGF to get questions on disability. So not only the website, but if they have any questions regarding disability, that they can come to the dynamic coalition and ask for advice. I don't know if the part of the people is just my idea.
Thank you. Very specific on that. Other questions on the floor? We need to get the mic to you, and Anna is running. She's in the front row. I'm still reading the caption, and thank you for your comment. It looks like Shadi would like to make a comment on the comment. We need the microphone back, please. Thank you. We have another runner.
I think that idea is really great. I'm just wondering if that we shouldn't. Yeah, I'm not sure if we can really ensure that they will come back. What I think the only thing we can say is to offer our advice and our resources with limited time that we all have doing this, but to offer them, and if they come to us and ask us for advice, I'm sure we'll all be responsive. But I'm not sure if we can really enforce such a workflow.
There is no reporting, there's no rules or reporting relationship between the Dynamic Coalition to, in that respect. So I agree with Shadi that perhaps we can obtain that information in a different way and thank you. And that is the goal of what we want to do. And provide input and also see the result that concrete action has been taken. So we can evaluate the extent of accessibility for persons with disabilities and participation. Thank you very much for that comment. Are there any other comments regarding or additions we have to the action plan for 2009? Then there not being any, I'd like to move to approve the action plan for 2009. Moving next on our agenda item, we have the Hyderabad Declaration on IGF Accessibility for Persons with Disabilities. This declaration is 2 pages. I'd like to say that the current draft is the product of the input from members of the Dynamic Coalition. And what I would like to do for the benefit of the members, that people here that may not have read it, or people online who have not had time to download it, I would like to first read it, and after reading it, I would like us to discuss any additions or revisions prior to our approval. The Hyderabad Declaration on IGF Accessibility for Persons with Disabilities, proposed by the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. 1. Recalling the historic number of signatories to the United Nations Convention on Rights to Persons with Disabilities, as well as the impact of the Convention obligation on information and communication technology, including the Internet. 2. Noting that the WSIS Declaration of Principles for Building the Information Society recognizes persons with disabilities worldwide as stakeholders in the building of an inclusive information society. 3. Being encouraged by the mandate of the Internet Governance Forum to, quote, promote and assess on an ongoing basis the embodiment of WSIS principles in Internet governance process, end quote, as directed by the Tunis Agenda, paragraph 72. 4. Noting, however, with great concern that this disability perspective has not been fully integrated into the proceedings of the Internet Governance Forum, partly due to both physical and programmatic barriers to participation by persons with disabilities. 5. Having high hope and confidence in the ultimate power of the united force among persons with disability, IGF Dynamic Coalition, stakeholders, and friends in all sectors around the world to work for a truly inclusive information society. 6. Therefore, we, participants of the 3rd Internet Governance Forum meeting held from the 3 through 6 December 2008 in the city of Hyderabad, India, A. Urge all governments to support the process of adoption, ratification, and implementation of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, in particular the enactment of national legislation as it contains strong elements concerning information and communication accessibility for persons with disabilities. B. Strongly request that any international, regional, and national IGF-related development program, funding, or assistance aimed to achieve the inclusive information society be made disability inclusive, both through mainstreaming and disability-specific approaches. C. Strongly urge that the needs of persons with disabilities be included in all aspects of designing, developing, distributing, and deploying of appropriation strategies of information and communication technology, including information and communication services, so as to ensure accessibility for persons with disabilities, taking into account for the universal design principle and the use of assistive technology. D. Strongly urge that basic building blocks of assistive technology, such as text-to-speech and speech-to-text software, real-time text solutions, optical character recognition software, and language rule tables for Braille transcription, are developed with high priority for all main languages of all countries and licensed under an open source license to enable development of various assistive technologies, such as screen reading software, text reading systems, talking mobile phones, talking ATM, and real-time text alternative communications that depend on these building blocks. E, urge all governments to design ICT procurement and intellectual property policy in a way that promotes the adoption of vendor-neutral solutions, the acquisition of technologies that comply with open standards, and in general implement policies that enable and promote a thriving open source software industry, which is essential for the continued development and availability of low and no-cost assistive technologies. F, call upon all governments and participants to promote the active and equal involvement of persons with disabilities in all IGF policies, all IGF projects, initiatives, and delegations, and to make the implementation, evaluation, and monitoring of IGF documents and communications to be inclusive of persons with disabilities, since this action is paramount for achieving an inclusive society. G, welcome the opportunity of the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability to serve as the experts on accessibility for participants with disabilities and encourage other IGF organizations to join and contribute to the DCAD process of advising IGF in these matters. H, propose to the MAG that a representative from the DCAD serve as an observer at MAG meetings in order to mainstream the disability perspective and contribute information on accessibility matters. And I urge the IGF Secretariat and host countries for the IGF to address the DCAD accessibility recommendation concerning the problems encountered by persons with disabilities in their participation at IGF meetings and in their access to the IGF website and remote access hub. And that ends the reading of the declaration. I note that a number of people have come in. We have 3 handouts here in the room. If you would like them up front, you may raise your hand. We can bring them to you. We have an agenda, we have a declaration which was just read, and an action plan that was just approved. It should be noted that this declaration is a concrete action taken by the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability and is the subject of the first 2 action steps in the action plan. I would like to open the floor for discussion on the declaration. Comment, additions, revisions, before we move to approval. I have a hand raised, and the mic is coming to you. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Morgan Reed with the Association for Competitive Technology. It's great. I have one minor concern, or one that I think is one that we should discuss, and that's item E, on the urge all governments to design ICT procurement and intellectual property policies.
Can you point to what particular paragraph?
Yeah, I'm going there. To the question of, the first sentence goes to vendor neutral solutions, acquisition of technologies that comply with open standards, and in general, implement policies that enable and promote a thriving open source software industry, which is essential for the continued development and availability of low cost and no cost assistive technologies.
Which paragraph are we referring to?
Paragraph E.
6E.
E, sorry.
E as in echo.
Echo, Edward.
Okay, echo, Edward. Continue, thank you.
Sorry. The question that I found when reading it, there's 2 things that came to mind. The first is I worry that we're looking at the problem in the wrong way. What we're looking for, and since some of our members develop assistive technologies, what we're looking for really is ubiquity. We want it everywhere. And for that, we're looking for ways to make sure that assistive technologies are integrated into every single operating system, including the Macintosh that I'm using here and the PC. And so I'm concerned that if we promote a policy that allows governments to only build the technology into one platform, we harm our ability to put people in jobs in the government. And I have a second concern that is more parochial, and that is for some of our disabled members, it's very important that they are able to develop software for the community, but also feed their families. We've found that the disabled developers in many cases are the most important advocates and the most important developers to solve the problems. And many of them depend on government contracts for the work that allows them to operate in a way that makes them feel as though they, and they are obviously, part of the mainstream software development community. So what I'm worried about is if we imply that somehow the development of assistive technologies is a open source only, a freeware, a giveaway. My people want to make sure they are compensated for their work, and it's vital to their well-being. So while I think that I absolutely believe that assistive technologies need to be part of open source software, and it's a failing of the open source development community right now that we haven't done enough to put good assistive technologies in open source. I think it's important that we find a way in the language to ensure that we strive for ubiquity, and that we strive for that. And while you were talking, I kind of looked at some possible language. Maybe something along the lines of saying assistive technologies that can be implemented on all software platforms, or even better, assistive technologies that can be implemented within, so we get that sense of ubiquity and permanence. So implemented within all software platforms, following the line so where it says, and in general, implement policies that enable and promote assistive technologies that can be implemented within all software platforms. And while I understand the desire for low-cost and no-cost assistive technologies, I don't think it's a good idea to create any image in the government that somehow this is less, that this community of developers is worth less.
I think that's well said. We certainly don't want to have the perception that we only want development going on one platform and then lose whatever we have gained in the mainstream. I have another hand is up before we finalize language to add. Fernando has raised his hand.
Hi, I'm Fernando Botello. I'm a consultant. I work with technology in general, and specific to low-cost assistive technology. I strongly reject the assertions made by the gentleman that just spoke. First of all, open source exists for every platform. It's not specific to Linux. There is open source assistive technology for the Windows platform, for the Macintosh, and so forth. Second of all, so the ubiquity argument is not valid. Desiring low cost. Low cost is not a desire. Low cost is a need. I want everybody here to understand that people with disabilities that we find in this room are more fortunate than literally 99% of the population of people with disabilities around the world. So the fact that we can afford fairly sophisticated and expensive, or our government more specifically can afford sophisticated proprietary software that helps us do our work is wonderful. However, this is not the rule. So it's not a matter of desire. Open source, low cost and no cost assistive technology is a need, it's a requirement. Finally, there was an argument that he made that somehow there was going to be a negative financial impact on the professional opportunities of programmers that have disabilities. But I happen to know a lot of developers that are disabled and that work with open source software, and they are doing just fine professionally. And to complement this argument, people who have a disability and work as developers are a segment of the overall population. There's a very large group of people with disabilities that have all kinds of other professional opportunities that would have been possible for them to take advantage of had they had affordable assistive technology. In other words, assistive technology that is low and low cost is the kind of tool that people need to be teachers, that people need to be researchers, the people need to do all kinds of professional opportunities.
Thank
So, you know, that's my,
Thank you, Fernando. We have two hands being raised, and your comments are all taken.